Welcome to iRise online classes. We'll go for an overview of the verbal part of all competitive examinations, how you need to prepare, and how we are planning to take you through the verbal part in detail. Now, when it comes to the verbal part of our examination, of all competitive examinations, we're going to focus on three sections. And the three sections that need to be focused on are grammar, vocabulary, and verbal logic. These are three sections we need to focus on. Grammar in the sense, questions like sentence improvement and spotting the error. In vocabulary, we have questions like antonyms, synonyms, one-word substitutions, idioms and phrases, words misspelled. In the verbal logic part, we have questions like reading comprehension, para-jumbles, close test, and fill in the blanks. Come to the first section, grammar. In the case of grammar-based questions, there is nothing like shortcuts. The only shortcut is going by the rules. We can never rely on guesswork because guesswork will never help us. Now we can never go for a reason like a sentence sounds correct or sounds incorrect. Because a sentence that sounds correct may be incorrect and a sentence that sounds incorrect may be correct. So only choice is going by the rules. Coming to the grammar part of examination, we need to focus on these topics. Subject-verb agreement. Now this is an important topic. If you check the previous year papers, most of the questions in the grammar part will be based on this topic, subject-verb agreement. Now every sentence needs to have a subject and a verb. If a sentence does not contain a subject or a verb, that sentence is grammatically wrong. So when you go for a question on grammar, whether it's sentence improvement or spotting the error, first you need to think about the rules of this topic. Then tenses. Now this is also an important topic, not the school level one, a bit advanced one. In fact, questions on tenses will be there in the sentence improvement part, spotting the error part. Tenses will surely help us a lot while approaching questions like close test and fill in the blanks. In the case of close test and fill in the blanks will be based on both grammar and vocabulary. Fill in the blanks means sentence completion questions. The blanks will be based on both grammar and vocabulary. So all the concepts we go for in the case of grammar and vocabulary will surely come to a help while approaching questions like close test and sentence completion, fill in the blank questions. And as you know, voice and speech. Voice and speech. Voice in the sense active voice, passive voice. Speech in the sense direct speech, indirect speech. Voice and speech completely depend on tenses. Now we cannot move on to voice and speech without a good knowledge of tenses. Now when you go for tenses, you need to know the structures by heart. And only after by hearting the structures, you should think about the application part, the usage part. And voice and speech completely depend on the structures of the categories of tenses. Now every tense can be divided into four categories: simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. Every category has got its own structure. You need to know the structures by heart to move on to voice and speech. And in fact, we can save time while approaching questions on grammar. There's no need for us to think too much and waste our time when it comes to grammar-based questions. We can get the correct answer in no time if we're well versed in the rules of the language. And the rules of the language in the sense, there's no need for us to focus on all the topics that appear in the English language. We need to focus only on what is required for the test. So in our course, we'll take you through only the topics. We'll take you only to the topics that you need to know when it comes to examination. That will surely help you get the answers, eliminating the options. So voice and speech completely depend on tenses. When you go for a question on voice or speech, don't try to understand the meanings of the options. Keep eliminating the options based only on the structures. Think about the meaning only when you come across more than one option that has a correct structure, or else don't think about the meaning. In fact, questions on voice and speech can be solved very easily based on the structures that appear in tenses. So this topic, tenses, matters a lot. Then conditional sentences, parts of speech. The 8 parts of speech, as you know: noun, pronoun, adjective, verb, adverb, preposition, conjunction, interjection. Now, among the 8 parts of speech, our primary focus must be on verbs, pronouns, and prepositions. Now, most of the grammar-based questions revolve around these 3: verbs, pronouns, and prepositions. Verbs will go for in detail in subject-verb agreement. Pronouns will surely help us not only in grammar-based questions but also in verbal logic-based questions. There is a concept called pronoun antecedent. You know what a pronoun is. Any word that substitutes a noun or any word that is used in the place of a noun is termed as a pronoun. Pronoun antecedent, A-N-T-E, ante, is a prefix meaning pre. Pre means before. Pronoun antecedent means every pronoun must refer to a noun before it. Without noun, we cannot have a pronoun. A singular pronoun can refer only to a singular noun, and a plural pronoun can refer only to a plural noun. This concept will surely help us a lot while approaching grammar-based questions and verbal logic-based questions like reading comprehension, parajumbles, cloze test, and fill in the blanks. In fact, we cannot move on to cloze test, parajumbles, and reading comprehension without a good knowledge of this concept, pronoun antecedent. This is one of the important concepts that will surely help us get the answers, solve the questions and get the answers in the case of verbal logic questions as well, apart from grammar-based questions. So in parts of speech, among the 8 parts of speech, our primary focus must be on verbs, pronouns and prepositions. Then something called modifiers. This topic matters in the case of Tier 1, Tier 2 and in the case of Tier 3 when it comes to SSC. Like modifiers, this topic is all about making sense. Now every option that we select as the answer must be grammatically correct, undoubtedly. Every option must be grammatically correct and every option must make sense. If a sentence is grammatically correct but it doesn't make sense, without thinking much, eliminate that option. Now every sentence that is grammatically correct may not make sense. So this topic, modifiers, is all about making sense. This will surely help us in the case of grammar-based questions, reading comprehension and cloze test. And then this is one of the topics that appear in writing skills as well. Essay writing, letter writing. In the case of writing, we'll frame a sentence with only one idea on mind. When you frame a sentence, you need to make sure that the idea that you have on mind is getting conveyed through a sentence that you frame. For that, a good knowledge of modifiers is required. So this topic helps us in the case of Tier 1, Tier 2 and when it comes to writing as well. Then parallelism, this also matters in the case of writing as well, apart from questions on grammar. Parallelism in the sense, if there is more than one idea in a sentence, all the ideas must have equal importance. That means all the ideas must be expressed in the same form. Now only if all the ideas are expressed in the same form, they'll have equal importance. That is called parallelism. I'm just giving you an overview. Now we'll take you through every topic in detail. I'll give you the rules in detail. Every topic has a set of exceptions as well. Now we have no choice but to learn the rules and the exceptions by heart. So we'll go for every topic in detail. I'll give you the rules in detail, the exceptions in detail with examples. Now whenever you learn a rule or a strategy, make sure that you associate every rule or every strategy with an example. We may forget rules, but we may not forget examples. So with the help of examples, we can easily recollect the rules. So associate every rule or every strategy with an example. As I said, I'll give you the rules in detail, the exceptions in detail with examples. And once we complete the rules of a particular topic, we'll do an exercise based on the same topic. We'll think about the application of the rules we discussed. So we'll go for an exercise on the same topic. Likewise, we'll go for the rules and the exercise of every topic. Once we complete the rules and the exercise of every topic, we'll move on to some previous year questions. We'll go for many questions that appeared like in the previous year in the previous examination papers. Now at the very beginning, at the initial stage, there is no meaning in moving on to a previous year question. Because when you take a previous year question, you must be able to identify based on which topic the error is. In order to identify based on which topic the error is, you need to have a good knowledge of the rules of all these topics. When you take a sentence will have at least 5 rules in it. There will be at least 5 rules in every sentence. So you must be able to identify all the rules inherent in a particular sentence. And you can do that only if you have a good knowledge of all these topics. So there's no meaning in moving on to a previous year question or trying to solve previous year papers at the initial stage itself. So the better thing is go for the rules of every topic, do individual exercise on every topic, and then combine all the topics. After going for the concepts of all the topics, start solving the previous year papers. In fact, solving the previous year papers is something that is compulsory, something that should be done. Only then we will get practice. Now, only practice makes us perfect. You know that really well. And we can move on to the practice of such kind of questions only once we complete the basics of all the topics. So we'll start this way in the case of grammar. As I told you, we'll take a topic, we'll go for the rules, we'll go for the exceptions with examples, we'll go for an exercise on the same topic. Later, we'll combine all these topics and then we'll start solving the previous year papers. That's the best thing that has to be done. Now, articles, you know that, the three kinds of articles, a, an or the. Punctuation marks and word order. You know what punctuation marks are? Colon, semicolon, hyphen, brackets. In fact, punctuation marks deserve a lot of importance while reading. When the position of the punctuation mark changes, the meaning of the sentence gets completely changed. Not only the meaning, but also the charge. When you approach a question in the verbal part, the two things you need to focus on are, one is understanding the context. Understanding the context means the meaning of each and every sentence or each and every idea must be understood by us. The second thing is identifying the charge. Identifying the charge in a sense whether a question or an idea carries a positive charge or a negative charge. These are two things we need to focus on. Now, the way you eliminate options in the case of mathematics using the charge, the same way you can eliminate options in the case of English using the charge. Now, there are many strategies that help us understand the context. There are many strategies that help us identify the charge. When you take a question, if the question is positively charged, you eliminate all the negative options. Similarly, if the question is negatively charged, you eliminate all the positive options. Because if the question is positive, the answer must also be positive. If the question is negative, the answer must also be negative. Now, as I said, there are many strategies that help us understand the context. There are many strategies that help us identify the charge. All the concepts we discuss in our sessions will be based only on these two, the context and the charge. And we'll make use of all those concepts to solve questions on the grammar part, vocabulary part, and the verbal logic part. Clear? So punctuation marks matter in the case of reading comprehension and parajumbles as well. Reading comprehension, parajumbles, and clauses as well. We may be able to get the answer eliminating three options, sometimes with the help of a punctuation mark. In the case of reading comprehension especially, punctuation marks like colon, semicolon, hyphen, brackets. These punctuation marks, especially these punctuation marks, will come to help when it comes to reading comprehension to eliminate the options and get the answer. Now, these four punctuation marks, colon, semicolon, hyphen, brackets, they are termed as appositions. A-P-P-O-S-I-T-I-O-N. You know what the meaning of opposition? Opposition means something that is against or opposite. Apposition means something that is supporting. So colon, semicolon, hyphen, brackets, these four punctuation marks are termed as appositions. Now, what comes after an apposition explains what comes before the apposition. So if you are not able to understand the first part, just read the second part. Similarly, if you're not able to understand the second part, just read the first part. Because second part explains the first part. We can get answers, we can get the correct answer, we can eliminate options based on these punctuation marks as well. So punctuation marks deserve importance. Word order. Word order in the sense, the order in which the words are arranged in a sentence. When the word order changes, the meaning gets completely changed. The charge also changes. So word order matters in the case of grammar-based questions and questions like reading comprehension. In the case of grammar-based questions, the error may be with the word order. In the case of reading comprehension, you must be able to understand the meaning of every sentence, meaning of the option, not every sentence, I'll tell you why. Meaning of the option based on the order in which the words are arranged in the sentence. If I go for a sentence, to give you an example, if I go for a statement like, only Sam can do that work. Only Sam can do that work. Am I praising him or putting him down? Only Sam can do that work. My question is, am I praising him or putting him down? Only Sam can do that work means Sam is the only person who can do that work. No one else can do that work. I'm praising him. The sentence is positively charged. No, I'm not changing the words. I just changed the order of the words and write Sam can do only that work. Sam can do only that work. Now, am I praising him or putting him down? Putting him down. Sam can do only that work means that is the only work Sam can do. He cannot do any other work. Now I am putting him down. Now this sentence is negatively charged. So when the word order changed, the meaning got completely changed. The charge also changed. So you must be able to understand the meaning of every sentence based on the order in which the words are arranged in the sentence. And in the case of grammar-based questions, the error may be with word order. Then question text. There will not be any direct question on text. Sometimes a question on text may appear in the case of sentence improvement or spotting there. That's it. So these are the topics, apart from voice and speech, these are the topics we need to focus on in the grammar part of a test. And whatever we discuss in the grammar part will surely help us a lot while approaching questions on vocabulary and verbal logic. In fact, all the three are dependent on one another. Whatever concepts are there in the grammar part will surely help us in the case of vocabulary-based questions. I'll tell you how. In the case of verbal logic-based questions. So we'll move on to this closed test only at the end, only after completion of the grammar questions and the vocabulary questions. So this is a strategy that need to be followed in the case of grammar-based questions. Now, as I told you, never give a reason like a sentence sounds correct or sounds incorrect. If I say, he is younger than me, he is younger to me. Some may say he is younger than me, some may say he is younger to me, but I say neither of these two statements is correct. The correct sentence is he is younger than I. That is a correct statement. If you go and tell someone he is younger than I, they will think that you don't know English. That's a problem with, we will speaking, will never think of anything. Spoken syntax is entirely different from written syntax. While speaking, we'll never follow the rules in grammar. The only thing is what a speaker says must be understood by the listener. Now, even if I say a grammatically incorrect sentence, you will be able to understand the meaning of it. That's the only thing that matters while speaking. Whereas in the case of writing, we have no choice but to go by the rules of the language. This is how we will be taking you through the grammar part. Come to the second section, vocabulary. In the case of vocabulary-based questions, it's better that we start with these three: prefix, suffix, and root. Prefix, suffix, and root will surely help us in the case of vocabulary-based questions. You know what a prefix is. The letters that come at the beginning of a word is called a prefix. The letters that come at the end of a word is called a suffix. Root means the origin. Now in English, we have many words borrowed from other languages like Greek, Latin, and so many other languages. So anything from which a particular word originates, the origin is termed as a root. A good knowledge of the commonly used prefixes, suffixes, and roots will surely help us solve questions like antonyms, synonyms, and one-word substitutions. Now, if you have a good knowledge of the commonly used prefixes, suffixes, and roots, you can make an educated guess, not just a guess, an educated guess about the meaning of the new word, or at least the charge of that new word. And identifying the charge will surely help us eliminate options. When you go for an antonym question, if the word given as the question is negative, the antonym of it must be positive. Similarly, if the word given as a question is positive, the antonym of it must be negative. So these prefixes, suffixes, and roots will surely help us make educated guesses at least about the charges of words. So we'll take you through these prefix, suffix, and roots. We'll try solving some questions based only on those. So antonyms and antonym questions and synonym questions can be solved with the help of prefixes, suffixes, and roots. And to some extent, those will surely help us in the case of one-word substitution questions as well. And when it comes to vocabulary, apart from these, we need to focus on contextual vocabulary. In fact, contextual vocabulary is an advantage while approaching questions like reading comprehension, closed test, and fill-in-the-blank questions. Now, contextual vocabulary means, as you know, in English, one word has many meanings. When you refer to dictionary, the word will be here, the meanings will last till here. One word has many meanings. And the meaning of a word depends on the context or the sentence in which a word appears. So based on the context, with the help of concepts, you must be able to understand the meaning and identify the charge of every word. In the case of these two, cloze test and fill in the blank questions, sentence completion questions, when you come across a blank, now you understand the meaning of the sentence in which the blank appears. Understand the meaning of a sentence, frame a word of your own to fill in the blank. Then see which word among the options has a meaning similar to that of the word you have on mind. That way we can keep eliminating options. And in the case of these two, cloze test and sentence completion, identifying the part of speech of the word that needs to be used to fill in the blank will surely help us. When you find a blank, just see whether the blank must be filled with a word belonging to which part of speech. If the blank must be filled with a noun, all the options that are not nouns can be eliminated. If the blank must be filled with an adjective, all the options that are not adjectives can be eliminated. So as I said, the grammar part will surely help us in the case of verbal logic questions as well. So antonym questions and synonym questions we'll try to solve based on prefixes, suffixes and roots. The same is the case with one-word substitutions as well. So in the case of these three, we can depend on prefixes, suffixes and roots. Right? We'll discuss the prefix, I'll tell you the meaning of it, the charge of it. Now if you learn 300, 400 words by heart and go to the exam, you cannot be sure whether those words will appear in the exam or not. So instead of just learning words by heart, when you learn words, try to associate them with these three, prefixes, suffixes and roots. When you learn a prefix, learn the meaning of it. From the meaning, you can easily get to know the charge of it, whether it is negatively charged or positively charged. And associate 4 or 5 words to every prefix. That is the best way to improve or to build our vocabulary, instead of learning words just like that by heart. Right? So we take a prefix, learn the meaning of it, learn 4 or 5 words associated with it. That way we can build our vocabulary. In the case of idioms and phrases, now there were times when they have given a phrase without a sentence. There were times where they have given phrases in sentences. If a sentence is given with a phrase, you can get the help of contextual vocabulary. You can make a guess, an educated guess about the meaning of the phrase from the sentence. It becomes easy to us. It becomes easy for us to crack the question. But if the phrase is given all by itself, without a sentence, then it may be a bit difficult for us. So we will take you through both the types, with sentence and without sentence. Then words misspelled. This is completely fine actually. Misspelled words. Now as you know, we have British spelling is different from American spelling. We follow British English, so we have to go for British spelling itself. Misspelled words, and we have to find out whether a word is spelled correct or not based only on what we follow. That means the British English. British spelling we need to follow. So we'll take you through. This is not that important actually, right? You can go for it. Many people will get confused between this IE, EI and all those things. Now there are many words in the same language that have the same meaning, same pronunciation, a slight difference in the meaning, slight difference in the spelling, complete difference in the meaning. Peace, PEAC, PIC. So this is what we need to focus on in the vocabulary part, and this is how we'll take you through the vocabulary part, like starting with prefix, suffix and roots and moving on to the questions on antonyms, synonyms, one-word substitutions, and then we'll go for those idioms and phrases. The last section is verbal logic. Now verbal logic questions don't have any rules, but there are many strategies or techniques. There are many strategies or techniques to approach every verbal logic question. Come to the first one, reading comprehension. In the case of reading comprehension, there is no need for us to understand the whole passage. Now some of us get tense when we are not able to understand the whole passage. Now what I say is very simple, never try to understand the whole passage. If you try to understand the whole passage, it becomes a waste of time. I say utter waste of time, because the questions that follow the passage will not be based on all the details given in the passage. So if you try to understand the whole passage, it becomes an utter waste of time. There are many concepts to approach reading comprehension. You must be able to get the answers to the questions that follow reading comprehension without even trying to understand the whole passage. We'll take you through all those concepts in detail, only then we'll move on to the application part. We'll start solving the passages. And you need to have a valid logical reason to select an option or eliminate an option. So in our sessions, we'll discuss every question, every option based only on the concepts. If I say A is the answer, I'll tell you based on which concept or which concepts A is the answer, and based on which concept or concepts the others are not the answers. So in our sessions, every question, every option we'll discuss based only on the concepts and no guesswork at all. Whether it's reading comprehension, paragraphs, vocabulary questions, grammar questions, every type of question will solve the same way. So reading comprehension, I'll take you through all the concepts in detail. We'll try solving the questions that follow reading comprehension without trying to understand the whole passage. Clear? In the case of parajumbles, you know how a parajumble question will be. 4 or 5 sentences will be given, they'll be jumbled. And our task is to arrange the sentences in the right order. In the case of parajumbles also, don't try to understand the meanings of a sentence that are jumbled. If you try to understand the meanings of those sentences, you'll have time only for that. And we have a time limit actually. We have to complete the examination within that time limit. Parajumbles, you forget about the options. This topic, parajumbles, has got many concepts, like reading comprehension. Different concepts, but I'll take you through all those concepts in detail. We'll try solving the questions. And we'll move on to the options only to start the elimination process. There's something called mandatory pairs. If I say AB is a mandatory pair, that means sentences A and B must come together. Using different concepts, we'll find out the mandatory pairs. We'll apply all the concepts onto the jumbled sentences. We'll find out the mandatory pairs, and trust me, we'll move on to the options only to start the elimination process. Using one mandatory pair, sometimes 3 options can be eliminated. So we'll find out the mandatory pairs using the concepts and move on to the options only to start the elimination process. That's how we are going to approach parajumbles. And then I told you about closed test and fill in the blanks. We'll discuss these two at the end, because closed test and fill in the blanks will be based, the blanks in these two, the blanks in every sentence in the case of closed test and sentence completion will be based on all these concepts. So we'll move on to these two only at the end. So this is what we need to focus on. These are what we need to focus on in the grammar, in the verbal part of our examination. Grammar part, I told you, is the only thing is going by the rules. Vocabulary starting with prefix, suffix and root, and then moving on to the rest. We'll try solving the questions based on those. Then verbal logic part. Verbal logic questions have got many strategies. I'll take you through all those concepts or strategies in detail with examples. We'll try solving questions without trying to understand the meanings of the sentences given in the passage or meanings of the jumbled sentences in the case of parajumbles. In the case of grammar-based questions, that means a sentence will be given as a question. So you need to understand the meaning and the charge. Whereas in the case of reading comprehension, a passage will be given to us. We cannot sit there and by heart the whole passage. In the case of parajumbles, similarly, a paragraph will be given, jumbled sentences. We cannot by heart the whole paragraph there. So by hearting the whole paragraph is not required in the case of verbal logic questions. Instead, we should get the answer following some strategies. So this is a strategy to approach the verbal part of, in fact, all competitive examinations. We have covered all the topics here, the 3 sections, all the topics. Here, we provide you the rules first, individual exercises first, and then we'll combine all the topics and do some previous year questions. We will go for many previous year questions because that's how we should practice. We are thinking about the examination. In the examination point of view, that is the way we need to practice. So this is how we will be providing the verbal course to you. I'll be completing the whole verbal part, and you should be able to reap the benefit from this course. So taking it sincerely, listening to the class that we upload daily will surely help you gain knowledge, and you can go for that knowledge during the exam. You can apply that knowledge that you gained at the time of the examination. Take the examination at ease, keeping in mind all the concepts of all the topics. It is not about choosing the correct answer. When it comes to any question, it's about choosing the best answer. Because in some cases, there may be more than one correct answer. Among the correct answers, you have to go for the best answer. There is one concept which will help us while approaching all types of verbal questions. That concept is indicators. Indicators are in fact keywords. I'll give you the list of indicators. You need to by heart the list and make sure that you don't miss any indicator while reading. We will solve questions in the grammar part, in the vocabulary part, and in the verbal logic part based on this concept, indicators, the keywords, apart from the other concepts. Clear? So this is how we will be providing the verbal course to you. We will be providing you the verbal course, and we believe that this will be of much help for you. Clear? Thank you so much.